Have you ever heard of a sea battle that never happened? Or about how an English Vice-Admiral sunk his own expensive ship, pleaded guilty, and went down with it? He didn't? Then watch another episode of the New Soldier channel. Do you want to know something about warships that goes beyond the technical characteristics and dry reports of ship logs? Interesting, sometimes shocking facts in which history, mysticism, humor and even epochality can be traced. All that is in the material we offer today. Greetings, this is New Soldier. Here we go. Aurora Cruiser, the ship that has an eternal residence in St. Petersburg. Not many people know that today a cruiser moored to the coast of the city is not the original, but only a copy of it. This fact is due to the replacement of more than 50% of the ship's areas and superstructures made during the reconstruction of the ship in 1984. The unsinkable Sam, the hero of the amazing history of the Second World War, was a cat. Marine life of this land animal began with the German battleship Bismarck, where it was brought by sailors. On this ship, kept by 2,000 sailors, the cat lived only 9 days. Then the battleship was torpedoed by a British squadron. There remained no more than 115 German sailors and the cat, which was taken on board the sailors of the English destroyer Cossack. 5 months later, the destroyer was submerged by a German submarine. The cat, however, remained unharmed. Another vessel that sheltered the cat was the aircraft carrier Ark Royal, whose fate was also deplorable. Thanks to countless adventures, sailors gave the cat a nickname, Unsinkable Sam. Having endured a lot of adversity, the cat Sam still saw the shore and lived on it for about 10 years. Doomsday Hours. The arms race made the submarine fleet an absolute weapon. Nuclear reactors gave the submarines unlimited range, in addition increasing their power and speed. And fresh water were no longer a problem. Rocket attacks could then be carried out hundreds of kilometers away, and the explosive power of ammunition of one submarine stole the show of all the weapons of the Second World War. In 1962, the Caribbean crisis nearly turned into a nuclear apocalypse. Tense negotiations between the USSR and the US on the deployment of nuclear missiles lasted for a week, and all the time sailors on both sides literally held their fingers above the red buttons. The professionalism of the military played a significant role in the peaceful resolution of the conflict. The Wise Old Man. The maximum service life of a large warship in the Russian Navy is 25 years, but there are exceptions here as well. The oldest vessel of the Russian Navy began serving in the Baltic Sea in 1915. The original name Bolkhov was soon changed to Commune. It is an auxiliary vessel, a submarine lifeguard, purposed to live submarines. Today the veteran is still at a combat post in the Black Sea Fleet. This is the oldest active warship in the world. Only 2 18th century ships are older than it, the American USS Constitution and the British HMS Victory. The first one is still afloat. It's a touring ship. The second one was solemnly decommissioned almost 100 years ago, and since then it has been on the Eternal Bollard in Portsmouth, where the ship was also turned into a museum. Which old warships do you know? Tell us about them in the comments below. And we go on. The Man and the Steamship. A heavy Russian aircraft carrier Admiral Kuznetsov is the largest combat ship of the Russian Federation. With a length of 306 meters, its displacement is about 60,000 tons. Powerful rocket armament and more than 50 pieces of air equipment on board allow it to perform various tasks. And it is in detail. Admiral Kuznetsov is the only aircraft carrier that is allowed to stay in the Black Sea by the Montreux Convention. Other aircraft carriers, regardless of their nationality, can't cross the Bosporus and Dardanelles Straits, as it violates the sovereignty of Turkey. Admiral Kuznetsov is not considered to be an aircraft carrier, because it carries not only equipment but also missile weapons. The sovereignty is not attacked, so it doesn't fall under the Montreux Convention. The Almighty Thunderer. The Russian Navy, as well as the US and Indian fleets, has adapted the very core of our planet for communication needs. The Soviet transmitter Zevs, located on the Kola Peninsula, uses the Earth's crust as an antenna for communication with the immersed submarines. Communication between the submarine and the mainland is highly distorted. So, conventional means of communication can't always do their job. Data transmission through the Earth's core is low efficiency, but the signals reach anywhere on the planet. Broadcast from Zeus was once occurred even at a godforsaken science station in Antarctica, and just recently the technology was considered pure fiction. The second life of warships. American satellites that specialize in measuring radiation in space are made of steel from the ship Crown Prince Wilhelm, which plunged into the depths of water in 1919. The reason is simple. The radiation background of iron and carbon alloy produced after 1945 is unacceptably high. Warships as an extension of life. The New York World Trade Center, which turned into ruins in September 2001, is immortalized in the National Helicopter Carrier. USS New York's dockside is made of 7 tons of steel structures, recovered from the wreckage. Kamikaze. The well-known term kamikaze has long been associated only with suicide pilots of the Japanese armed forces. However, there were torpedoes in the fleet called Kaiten. They were operated by humans. The design solution of the torpedoes initially assumed the presence of a catapult. However, the pilots never once in the history of the Japanese Navy took a chance to save their lives. This fact was the reason to stop installing catapults on torpedoes. You may ask about submarines. Didn't they have any interesting stories? Sure they did. Watch next and you'll know. The battle that never happened. Ron Hubbard is the founder of the doctrine of Scientology. He also became famous due to one unusual battle. It took place in May of 1943. At the time, Hubbard was leading a ship hunting for submarines. The RC-815 was ordered to make the transition from Portland to San Diego. Early in the morning of the 19th of May, Hubbard saw on the sonar something that he thought was a Japanese submarine. 2 American blimps were called in to help find and fight it. By midnight on the 21st of May, a small fleet was already hunting for the elusive Japanese. In Hubbard's pursuit for the submarine enemy, he was helped by 2 cruisers and a couple of Coast Guard boats. Altogether, the ships fired over 100 Epps bombs. The chase lasted more than 68 hours, and the enemy didn't show any signs of defeat or even moved. In the end, the commanders drew Hubbard in order to end the senseless battle. According to reports from other ship commanders, the hapless sailor had been fighting all alone against a rather famous and clearly marked magnetic field on maps, and Hubbard's actions almost led to a scandal as he attacked the seabed belonging to Mexico, attacking their own flagship. In all fairness to defend Hubbard, we note that even the famous English fleet had ridiculous mishaps. In 1988, the Victoria battleship joined the Royal Navy to become the flagship of the Mediterranean Fleet. The ship cost more than $2 million, a huge amount of money at the time, and the UK was clearly not going to donate it. However, the battleship was soon sunk. Most remarkably, the enemy was not involved at all. On the 22nd of June, 1893, Vice-Admiral Sir George Tryon was leading 10 warships of the Mediterranean Squadron to sea. The ships were divided into 2 columns and sailed at a distance of just 1 kilometer from each other. And then the admiral decided to try something he didn't understand. For the sake of some show, he ordered the 2 leading ships to turn 180 degrees relative to each other and sail further to the port. The rest of the squadron had to repeat this strange maneuver. The distance between ships was much shorter than the turning radius of any battleship, and Tryon never realized that his synchronous turnaround plan would collide. Eventually, 2 less expensive battleships collided at sea. Camperdown was badly damaged and Victoria literally drowned. It was on duty for only about 5 years. In such an accident, 358 sailors from Victoria died, half the crew, and Admiral Tryon himself preferred death to shame. He stayed on a sinking ship, and his last words were, "This is my fault." Conspiration. During the Second World War, meteorological reports in America were censored to prevent the interception of weather bulletins by enemy submarines, which could attack the US coast on low visibility conditions. One day during a football match in Chicago, the field was so obscured by fog that the radio announcer could not see anything on it. In the end, he was officially sent for the fact that he never mentioned the word fog and didn't mention the weather. How justified do you think this kind of censorship was for that time? Express your opinion below, and we'll continue. CIA secrets. The $350 million drill ship built in the early 1970s by the American billionaire Howard Hughes to collect minerals from the ocean floor was actually a cover for the CIA. Americans used it to lift the sunken Soviet submarine with nuclear missiles on board from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, from the depths of 5 kilometers. It's not what it seems. Often people think that military submarines are designed to fight each other, but only once in history submarine did deliberately sink another submarine. Dangerous legacy. The American nuclear submarine, which sank at the depths of 3 kilometers in the Atlantic Ocean in 1968, is still at the bottom, and its location was established with a bathyscaphe. The nuclear reactor and the submarine's nuclear weapons have never been raised from the bottom. No place for competitors. Pentagon got scared in the 1980s when its experts realized that Finland had managed to build 2 Mir submarines capable of diving to the depths of 6,000 meters, contrary to expectations. The United States forced Finland to shut down its mines, threatening the country with serious sanctions. The mystery of the abyss. Since sound can pass through water better than air, the potential number of decibels increases significantly. The Alpha-A sonar used in submarines is capable of producing the loudest artificial sound up to 200 plus decibels. Marine biologists believe that marine creatures can be thrown ashore to avoid loud man-made sounds. Doomsday underwater fortress. The British submarine HMS Artful can remain submerged for 25 years without surfacing. One of the checks that the British nuclear submarine is doing to see if the government is still operating, if the BBC Radio 4 is still broadcasting. Space Needle. In the 1960s, fearing that submarine communications cables would be cut by Soviet submarines, the US military sent 480 million copper needles into space to provide its communications infrastructure. The needles acted as a mirror for radio waves, providing communication between remote objects. Open the envelope, press the button. The UK has 4 nuclear submarines as a nuclear deterrent force. Each of them has a letter of the last hope on board. These letters contain instructions from the current Prime Minister on what to do in case the government is destroyed by a nuclear attack. The Prime Minister has only 4 choices from the instructions, and these letters are destroyed undisclosed during the change of Prime Minister in the country. What would you write in a letter like that? Tell us about it in the comments. Let's move on. Tricky dealers. Colombian drug cartels have specially designed fiberglass submarines to smuggle cocaine. They are designed to carry about 4 people and are extremely difficult to detect. Area 53. The US Navy's most secretive naval base is located on a remote lake in the northern state of Idaho. It is believed that this base is used to develop hidden submarine technology. Some locals believe that an underground waterway from the lake leads to the Pacific Ocean. A clever plan. When 2 New Zealand trawlers collided with a Japanese submarine that was more than 1,000 tons heavier than it, the 2 Kiwi trawlers continued ramming the submarine until they threw it aground. This allowed the US to seize key Japanese code books. On this optimistic note, we'll finish our today's episode. If you know other interesting and unusual stories related to warships, tell about them in the comments below. Do you have a topic for us? Do you want us to talk about something specific? Write to us, and it's likely that the next issue will be made from your request.